AI has moved faster this week than most industries do in an entire year. I mean, seriously, we're talking about self-rewriting AIs, 3D cities built from satellite images, and even a browser that quietly bypassed big media restrictions. And while all of that sounds futuristic, it's happening right now. So in today's video, we're going to break down all the biggest AI updates from this week one by one. Alright, let's start. So OpenAI's new Atlas browser is making headlines again. This time for how it's quietly sidestepping website blogs from major publishers like the New York Times and PC Mag. You see, these outlets had specifically restricted AI tools from scraping or summarizing their content. They don't want their articles being pulled into AI chat results without permission. But Atlas has found a clever workaround. Instead of showing those blog sources, it simply redirects users to similar content from competitor sites. Here is how it works. Imagine you ask the Atlas browser something like, show me reviews of the latest MacBook. Normally, an AI-powered browser might summarize those results directly, even pulling text from sites like the New York Times or PC Mag. But since those sites have now blocked AI crawlers, Atlas doesn't show their summaries. Instead, it automatically points you toward competing sites, ones that do allow AI access. So you still get your answer instantly, and OpenAI avoids any legal or ethical friction. Now, this might sound like a small design choice, but it's actually a big deal for two reasons. First, it shows how OpenAI is trying to protect itself legally after all the copyright battles we have seen this year, especially that lawsuit from the New York Times. And second, it shows something deeper about how AI search is evolving. Instead of relying on Google's link-based search, where you scroll through 10 websites, Atlas is training you to trust its own answers. The AI decides which content to show and which to skip. And that's where it gets interesting. And maybe a little worry. Because if Atlas starts redirecting traffic away from publishers that block AI, those publishers lose ad revenue and visibility. That could pressure more websites to cooperate with AI systems just to stay relevant. So in a way, OpenAI is reshaping the internet's power dynamics, not by force, but by smart design. This is actually the same kind of strategy Google used in its early days. Websites that optimized for Google search got more traffic, and those that didn't, well, they got left behind. Atlas might end up being something similar, but in the AI era, rewarding websites that are open to AI integration and pushing out those that aren't. So if you are a content creator or run a website, this is your sign. Start thinking about how your content interacts with AI tools. In the next few years, more users will find your work through AI summaries, not Google searches. If your content isn't accessible to AI systems, it might start disappearing from the digital conversation altogether. It's time to plan for that now. But while Atlas is changing how we browse, another project called Skyfall GC is changing how we see the world. Literally, it's turning satellite images into walkable 3D cities. Let's look at the next. A new project called Skyfall GC has developed an AI system that can take ordinary satellite images, the kind we see on Google Maps, and turn them into fully walkable, explorable 3D cities. Not just static 3D models, but entire digital environments that you can actually move through, like a real-life versions of a game world built from actual geography. So here is how it works. Normally, creating a 3D model of a city from satellite imagery would take a huge amount of time. Manual labor and precise mapping, photogrammetry, drone captures, you name it. But Skyfall GS uses a combination of generative AI and geospatial modeling to automate that process. It reads satellite images, detects roads, buildings, trees, and terrain patterns, and then hallucinates the missing 3D depth and texture information that satellite images can't provide. The result? A surprisingly realistic city environment that looks like it was captured by a camera but is actually generated by the AI. What's really impressive here is that these environments are not just visuals. They're structured in a way that you can interact with, walk down the streets, explore the architecture, even simulate line of sight for drones or autonomous vehicles. Game developers could recreate entire cities instantly. Urban planners could simulate construction projects before they start, and emergency teams could train inside realistic virtual versions of actual places. And here is something a lot of people miss. This could be a huge step for digital twins. The concept of having a live, constantly updating virtual version of the real world. Imagine thinking that with real-time traffic, weather, and population data, You could have a fully functional mirror world, one where AI can test city planning ideas, traffic systems, even disaster responses, all before applying them in real life. But of course, there is another side of this. As exciting as it sounds, this kind of technology also brings privacy and security questions. If AI can generate realistic 3D replicates of entire neighborhoods from satellite photos, what happens when that gets combined with facial recognition or drone data? It could be used for amazing things, but also for surveillance or manipulation if not handled responsibly. That's why projects like Skyfall GC need to be transparent about where the data comes from and how it's used. So yeah, Skyfall GS isn't just making pretty 3D worlds, it's giving AI the ability to recreate our world. And that's a massive step toward the next evolution of AI-powered simulation. Now, speaking of evolution, our next story takes this even further. A new self-rewriting AI from KAUST has revived a decades-old dream called the Gödel Machine, an AI that can literally rewrite its own code to get smarter. Now, this next update is one of those moments where you stop and think, wait, are we actually building self-improving AI now? Because researchers at KAUST have just revived one of the boldest concepts in computer science history, the Gödel Machine. And if you have never heard that term before, don't worry, I will break it down in simple words. So back in the early 2000s, a legendary computer scientist named Jürgen Schmidhuber proposed a theoretical idea called the Gödel Machine. In simple terms, it's an AI system that can rewrite its own code to make itself smarter, but only if it can prove mathematically that the rewrite will improve its performance. Basically, imagine an AI that doesn't just learn from data, but literally upgrades its own brain structure when it finds a better way to think. That's the dream. Until now, it was mostly theory, fascinating, but not something anyone had actually built. Well, KAUST's new project seems to be taking the first real steps in that direction. Their AI model can identify inefficiencies in its own reasoning and then modify small parts of its internal process to get better results the next time. In short, it's not waiting for humans to fine-tune it, it's turning itself. Now, of course, this isn't a full Gödel machine yet. It's an early controlled version. But it's still a massive deal. Because once an AI starts rewriting itself, we move from the era of trained models to the era of evolving models. And that brings a huge philosophical question. How do we control something that can rewrite its own infrastructures? The same flexibility that makes it powerful also makes it unpredictable. So safety researchers are already thinking about frameworks to track and limit what parts of the system can self-modify. It's like giving AI a toolbox but locking away the dangerous tools. So while KAUST is experimenting with self-rewriting intelligence, OpenAI is moving full speed ahead on a different front, scaling their AI infrastructure to a mind-blowing new level. And yes, it involves another multi-billion-dollar bill. Let's talk about OpenAI's massive new partnership with Amazon and what it means for the next generation of AI systems. Alright, here is what happened. OpenAI has just signed a massive new deal with Amazon Web Services worth around $38 billion over multiple years. Yeah, you heard that right. Billion with a B. This partnership is all about one thing, taking OpenAI's model to a whole new level. So here is what's really happening. OpenAI's system, from ChatGPT to their upcoming advanced models, need enormous computing power to run and keep improving. Until now, most of that workload ran on Microsoft's Azure cloud. But now, they're teaming up with Amazon, which gives them access to AWS insane infrastructure. We're talking thousands of GPUs, custom AI chips, and data centers across the world. This isn't just about backup servers, this is about multi-cloud scaling, making sure OpenAI can grow faster, process more data, and serve more users without relying on a single partner. And you might be thinking, wait, did OpenAI already have Microsoft? The answer is yes, they do, but that's exactly the point. This move shows OpenAI doesn't want to depend on one platform anymore. They're spreading out their compute needs, which means better stability, faster rollouts, and potentially more flexibility for developers who build on top of OpenAI's APIs. Think of it like diversifying your investment portfolio. If one system slows down or gets overloaded, the other one picks up the slack. Now, what does this actually mean for us, the everyday users, creators, or startups using AI tools? In simple terms, this still means bigger capacity, faster updates, and more reliability. Since GPT-5 has already launched, partnerships like these are what make it possible for models of that scale to stay alive, expand globally, and keep improving. It also hints at what's coming next. Possibly even multimodal systems that can process text, voice, and video all together in real time. And the best part, with AWS now deeply integrated into OpenAI's infrastructure, we might soon see faster response times and regionally optimized APIs, meaning smoother performance and lower latency for everyone. But it also says something deeper about OpenAI's strategy. They are not slowing down. They're in full expansion mode, locking in infrastructure for the next 5 to 10 years. This isn't a company that's waiting to see what happens. It's a company betting on AI becoming as essential as electricity. If you are someone building a startup around AI tools, this is a small but powerful signal. The cloud space is about to get more competitive. So learning how to deploy across multiple providers like AWS or Azure will soon become a must-have skill. And if this breakdown helped you actually understand what's going on, not just the headlines, but the deeper why behind it all, then make sure you hit that like button. It really helps the channel reach more people who want clear, logical updates about the future of AI. And of course, subscribe if you want more deep dives like this, because the AI world is moving faster. And I promise you don't want to fall behind. This is not just about technology anymore, it's about understanding how the next version of our world is being built, one AI update at a time.